Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Silent Hill 2 review, which I can't record for some fucked up reason, but it's alright. So, Silent Hill, as you know, is a game about a man looking for someone he lost in the town called Silent Hill, and he has to face monsters to survive and find that something that he lost. Silent Hill 2 is that, but again. And then, of course, Silent Hill 2 Remake is that, but again, and remixed a little bit. Um, so it's the remix edition to Silent Hill, the sequel, right? Now, obviously, that is a gross oversimplification of both games, but that is probably the only thing you'll see that they have in common, except James is a piece of shit, whereas Harry is like actually a good person. Um, I mean, like he has some problems, but like compared to James, yeah. Now, obviously, there are three endings that you can get in a new game, and not so obviously, five endings that are exclusive to New Game Plus. So the first ending is the leave ending, which is also the one I got, which you basically get by doing certain things that effectively count towards preserving your own life. I guess a good way to say it. So like not killing too many monsters, keeping your health higher, and not killing Pyramid Head. There's a lot of things like that, right? In the first fight, that is. Now, um, it's very hard to you know get the leave ending to fail without sucking at the game. It looks like, because I swore, because I thought I killed a lot of enemies. Um, but apparently you have to kill more than 150, and like that's literally it. So I don't think I killed that many, but like apparently you have to kill 350 like total to get a point towards the water ending, which I don't even know if there's that many in the game. I didn't really encounter it felt like that many. I mean, I got the chainsaw, so I guess I can skin some enemies raw to see if that is actually the case, because I beat the game. But yeah, now I played it originally on hard, right? So you get to choose both the combat and stuff, as well as the puzzles difficulty. Now they don't have a remix mode, unfortunately, at least not yet. So you can't just, hey, you beat all three difficulties of puzzle, now you get to do another one, right? And unfortunately isn't a thing you can do. But hey, it's all right. There's no riddle mode, basically. There's no extra riddle mode um, for puzzle difficulty. Um, they also removed the spray that just one hit kills everything from like a good distance. Like, it is very hard to get it in the original game anyway, so like whatever, but like it's should be honestly it should be in there. I think like they have the asset. I think it should be in there, right? Um I do like the actual game itself because that's what matters more than the ending I got in the difficulty I played on. So the gameplay is all right. Um, like it's not great, but it's serviceable. It's a Silent Hill game, so it's pretty much always been that way. It's not like Resident Evil where they started prioritizing fun more than scariness. Um, it's a bit less scary than the original, but the original is more psychologically scary anyway. So like the story is what scares you, not exactly the combat, right? It's more like the lore of the enemies and the enemies themselves that are scary. Like is a good way to say it. So yeah, like even in the original, that was not that important. Now the boss fights, there's a little more horrific. In like at least in my opinion. Now, The first boss fight you have is, of course, Pyramid Head. Nothing really changed. The boss fight was always a nothing burger for me anyway. Just face him or don't. Either just run around for about a minute and 20 seconds, or attack him a bunch and get the leave ending. I mean, the drown ending. I mean, and like that's basically it. You don't have to really do much. They when I was playing, I killed him, but I should have just ran around. I would have saved a lot more ammo that way, which would have made a couple of the later bosses way easier. Um, and by a couple, I mean every single one that was after that one. Like Flesh Lips wasn't really that hard, but outside of Flesh Lips, basically every boss fight, I was nigh out of ammo at the end of it. Oh, actually, no. Flesh Lips and Abstract Daddy. Those are the two boss fights that really didn't take much out of me. And like it's funny because I went into both of them with far more ammo than you would normally have, and it took everything from me basically. But uh, on like all the other ones, right? So you don't really have that much like bonus like resources, I guess is a good way to say it. Now, in the game, you also, of course, have little things I missed for Maria. They're pretty obvious. I just forgot. It's not that it matters. The Maria ending is probably the worst ending. It's like, yeah, everything we did to like forgive ourselves, and we're just gonna get her back, and then the exact same thing's gonna happen because she's gonna get sick, and we're gonna kill her again, basically. That one is obviously probably the worst ending in the game. Honestly, the one where you kill yourself, like the bad ending, is honestly probably the happier ending of those two. I think Leave is obviously the happiest ending, but like Water is probably. It's funny. Killing yourself is less unhappy of an ending than the other endings that are like serious. So like Rebirth, and the other end. Now this game also has another ending, right? That is probably a bit more like valid. It's called the still ending. The stillness ending is basically, when you die, you see Mary again, but you don't kill yourself right away. It's probably actually the happiest ending because it has James like accept that what he did was wrong, but Mary, her comforts him, and he feels there's a reason to live on because she'll wait for him anyway. So when he dies, he'll see her again regardless. But he has a life to live and a reason to live on still. I think that's pretty good, right? That's probably like probably the best ending that the game has, honestly. Because Leave is just like, I got this snot nosed kid, and that's literally it. Like there's not I admitted that I did it because I'm a piece of shit, even though you didn't want to suffer. That's not why I did it. I did it because I want you dead, bitch. It's like, what the fuck? Like, god damn, dude. Like, holy shit. Well, like that's not exactly how he says it, but he basically says that, like, god damn, this dude's vile with that ending. So like stillness is like he gets to live, but it's not like he's a piece of shit anymore, which I think is probably like the happiest ending you're gonna get for this story. Obviously, like, hey, I did something bad and I regret it, and I did it because I loved her, but and I have very little left to live on. But she says she'll wait for me in heaven, so hey, look, I gotta redeem myself somehow to get to see her, kind of thing, and I like that one. I like that one. That's probably, but like I said, that's the best you're gonna get with Silent Hill, too. Um, Outside like the dog ending, which is obviously just a joke ending. Um, Fun enough, that's a very fun little Easter egg ending that they have there. Now, also of course, you have different little things, I guess is a good way to say it. So, let's go back to the boss fights there. Right? So yeah, Pyramid Head is whatever. Flesh Lips is actually fucking dope. In the original, it's basically just run around and not and basically not die. Uh, it's actually pretty hard to die in that one. Um, in the original, in the remake, it's actually a fight. It's still pretty easy compared to the other bosses, but it's pretty it's pretty fun. Then of course you have Abstract Daddy, the best boss fight in like gaming history. Honestly, I hate to say it, like it's just the best one. Um, and I mean the remix version. The original was okay, but the symbolism was all in the room, right? In the monster design. In the remake, like they have it so like there's layers to it, right? So basically at, like it's kind of hinted at that both Angela and her mother were victims of her father and brother. Like at the beginning, she sees her mother, not her brother and father, right? When she's at the gravesite, they're all dead, but she's only seeing her mother. Um, and what that's basically getting at is sometimes they would rape and beat her, not just Angela, right? So they would sometimes do that to her mom, right, in front of her while she was in the closet. Now, the importance of that is in the boss fight, you have a closet that you can go into where you're safe, but the monster's still right outside, right? And the reason I like that one, right, is it's just it's like literally you're going in there to be safe yourself, but like you're not really happy, you're scared as shit because this thing's still out there and it's happening, it's just not happening to you, right? And it's very disgusting and vile that, but like that's the thing, it's sexual assault, she was raped as a kid, like they're pedophiles and rapists in that in the boss fight, right? And of course it starts off with like a home setting, right? Then it gets to more like a school setting, and then it like starts to get all mechanical and fleshy. So there starts to be pistons everywhere and they poke out of the walls. And now in the remake, initially the pistons and the walls moved, but they stopped doing that. But they did it for even more symbolism. I just realized when you look up, you'll see these bigger pistons, right? The actual ones, and they're still doing the motion and noises that they did in the original game. Now, the reason why I think that that's better is here's the thing, right? It's basically if you don't look at it, like the walls, you're kind of gonna look at anyway. So if you don't look for it, you're not gonna find it, right? And it's basically saying abuse is hidden if you look at surface level. So anytime you're looking surface level, you don't see the metaphor. But as soon as you look up, and start to look around for it, you see it, right? And I think that's great because that's also, signifies like the hiddenness of abuse, right? Like if you're just looking at the surface, you might not find it where it is, but if you look deep down, look up and down, like at the see the whole picture, you'll tell, right? And I think that's a very brilliant symbolism. You know, it's probably like the boss fight was improved so fucking dramatically that like both in like the fight itself and the environment that I just a like it's literally my favorite boss fight in gaming history now, and that was very much a surprise because it was always disturbing, but it wasn't always like, hey, look, the fight itself was also good. Now, like the fight itself is actually good. They start with one like a little bit of a fight, then you end up with a chase sequence, and then you end up with like the final fight um, in an area which basically looks like it did in the original game. And in order to even get there, you basically have to break these three TVs too. It's pretty dope, if you ask me. And yeah, so like you do that, and get the fight done. And as soon as you do, Uh, you have that done, right? You get the abstract daddy done, and then of course the next boss fight is Eddie. Eddie is all right. Like he's a bit more of a threat now because he doesn't just doesn't just like run around and you can just shoot him at any point. You have these flesh sacks you have to like dodge his shots with, and he also has a bit more health than he did in the original, which is fine because it's pretty easy to like whack him with the melee now, unharmed. But other than that, it's a whatever fight, right? But it's pretty fun, right? Especially with the mechanics of the meat sacks, and then like in the three phases to the boss. The first phase is effectively just hide, and then when he comes out, shoot, and then whack him a bit. You don't have to whack him. You can just, but I wanted to save ammo, which is a good thing because I was barely had any ammo on the next two fights. And then of course you have and then of course after that you have the bit where you have the second phase where he freezes all the meat. Where when he does that, when he shoots a meat sack, it gets gone. This one's extremely easy. Like honestly, it's easier than the first one. You just wait till he shoots the sack, shoot him, and then like run up to him and whack him that way. Now the third one is a bit trickier. That he starts moving them, and really the only reason I died on this is because like I was like a meat sack moved in the way or out the way when I needed it to not. And that's basically it. It's still pretty easy. What he does, like when he hits you, it's almost a guaranteed kill. As in, if you're at full health, you survive, but otherwise, you're SOL. Uh, but basically, once you get it done, like just don't get hit. It's pretty easy, and there you go. Um, Pretty simple boss fight, but very fun. And then you have, of course, the Mandarin boss fight that isn't really a boss fight in the fireplace room. And when I say it's not really a boss fight, you can just leave, and also like it's a waste of fucking ammo. I didn't even put a single bullet in that bitch because I knew how much of a waste of ammo that was. And yeah, you just ignore him. And it's funny because you have to face like six of them anyway in the next room. So like you really shouldn't, right? And so I didn't. And then in the next room, like you do, yeah, there's six of them, but the six that you face, right, aren't ones you actually have any control over, basically. And what I mean by that is you have no weapons or healing items or whatever. It's basically a stealth section. It's extremely easy. Good stealth sections in a game where it's not really built on stealth tend to be extremely easy. You just like make sure you're not getting attacked, and that's it. And there's two sections of that, and it's pretty easy. Do them, and you win, right? In the first ones, you just find a code. Um, find three buttons, get a code, and then go to the safe, get the items that are in there, and then that's it. Second one, a little harder. You just it's still pretty easy, but you have to like once you do all that, you have to like get sorry. Once you do all that in this one, you have to get a sorry, 1 second. Sorry. Once you do all that, you have to get like a valve, right? And it's actually as soon as you avoid the guys, you get the valve, and you can just go to the other like the final place. So it's that one's even quicker and easier. Like the first one, like yeah, can like there's a little less linearity to the first section. The second section, you just like run a straight line and you're done. Um, and then of course you have you know, you open up the door to exit and then get your stuff back because you have to go get your stuff back, and then you're done, right? You just go to the room that you opened. play the tape, and then like go to the other world. There's no more enemies now. You just collect all the ammo and face the Pyramid Head boss at the end of it, which is two Pyramid Head with spears. This fight kicked my ass because I was playing on hard, obviously as part of it, and also they chucked that thing like a motherfucker. And this isn't Dark Souls where you have iframes on dodge, so yeah, they are insanely difficult if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And they do less damage than the Pyramid Head with the sword, but they're, like I said, they're way harder to avoid. Right, the Pyramid Head with the sword is honestly extremely easy because just kind of juke around him. It's whatever. He doesn't really do anything. Um, really, and like I said, you don't even have to fight him. You can just ignore him. I didn't, and I'm surprised I got the leave ending and not the drown ending, but I did, because that counts as a point towards the drown ending if you fight both phases with aggression and win. Um, and so it's basically against the leave ending. It's not like you don't subtract the leave point; you just add a water point. I guess is a good way to say it. Um, and then of course you have the like I said, like the fight. You just basically you have to dodge them, collect the items, and shoot them, right? But they have a lot of health, and it's a pretty long fight. But I ended up getting it, and yeah, that was that. And then the final fight is like right after it. You collect some items after choosing which egg you want to use, and on which door you go through the door, and then you get all the items on the way. There's a photograph if you turn to the right that you can get real quick, and then all the other items are on the left. Bunch of ammo and health supplies, and you pretty much should know what's up after that. You face the Maria boss fight, and this one's basically like Flesh Lips 2.0, just like in the original game, but just like Flesh Lips 1.0 was improved dramatically. This one is as well. It's actually a fucking fight now, and not just hey look those bugs are the only annoying part. The problem is on the third phase because it really didn't have much problem with the first two phases. Uh, you might think it's open, level, so you got a lot of distance just to clear. That's what you would think, and in the original game that's why it's so fucking easy. It's hard to fail, but yeah, you kind of have to do Dark Souls dodge times, even like delayed attacks and shit. Um, but it's like it's not easy. It's not as easy as it should be. Um, it's a very like fun fight, but like she kicked the fuck out of my ass. Like I said, the controls are not geared towards the Dark Souls style dodging. You have to very much like time your dodges and like keep your distance. When she does this, I don't know if she does it in the first two phases, but in the third phase, she does basically a triple attack where she does two quick attacks where you can kind of dodge them right after the other, and then a third one's a little delayed, and you have to dodge backward like at the exact right moment, or else you get hit. It has to be backward. It has to be at a very good distance. You have to keep running back as well the whole time, and you have to hit it at the exact right time, or else you will get hit. Is kind of insane. I ended up getting the timing pretty consistently towards the end though. I had like a decent chunk of deaths, and most of them were to her, funnily enough. Which in the original game was like zero. So I make that with what you will. She's insanely insanely more difficult than the original. Like I said, I died to all the bosses except for Abstract Daddy a decent bit, but like that one um with with Maria was a bit of a pain, and mainly because like I had low ammo at the end of it, and like I don't know like what it is, but like when she's around the items, I can't pick them up. I think that's like a thing. Like she it's like a symbolism thing. But like it's a symbolism thing that I don't think was in the original game, and also doesn't really make sense. It's just annoying. Like I ran out of ammo. I want to get more ammo. There's ammo right there. Why can't I pick it up? Oh, she's near me. Okay, fine. And eventually I picked all that up and figured it all out, and I won. Um, barely, but I won. And then somehow after all that stuff that like all the things I did that should have guaranteed I got the water ending, I somehow got the leave ending. It was like at this point, like it was basically at 50% health for like 10 minutes of like just the fight itself, and all this shit happening, and somehow I didn't get enough points. I didn't kill too many enemies because, like I said, I didn't even know there were that many enemies to kill. You need to kill 350 for the point towards water, and 150 or less, you don't get that one. So I missed. So I basically got 1 point towards leave and didn't get the point towards water there. And I also didn't stop too many enemies. So that's another point for water that I didn't get. And I also only looked at Angela's knife once, so I missed 3 points, which ended up costing me the true ending, but I got the good ending. Which is fine. It's whatever. I wasn't really going for any ending, obviously. It's the first playthrough. So, and I got the good quote good ending, not the true ending, obviously, but I got the quote good ending of the three, because stillness is definitely I haven't gotten that yet, but I saw it, and yeah, it's definitely the best ending you get. Um, it's like that's as good as you're gonna get, right? Where he moves on with his life, but accepts what he did, and also, forgives himself and has, but also like admits that he actually did do it out of love, kind of thing. Even though like it makes he feels like he didn't in like all the other endings. It's probably like the only one where it's like it's actually a decent ending, right? Um, for like the character you play as. But yeah, all in all, game's pretty fun. Yeah, people are like big mad that Angela doesn't look like a big booba sex robot, which I thought was hilarious. Seeing all the AI images, where like it's not even they didn't miss the like they looked like satire. Like they literally gave her like massive tits and like a thick curvy body, and like a lot of I'm like dog like at least like make her look like you just shrink her head up and make her look like the original game. These guys literally made her out to look like she was a first descendant character, right? Like which is fine. If you want to mod that in, that's fine after you beat the game once and you just want to like have fun. Like it's your game, just have shits and giggles. But like you're basically saying, I'm a Silent Hill 2 fan, which is why I am gooning to the rape victim, and I'm mad that like the default model is not goon. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you at that point, right? Like, it's fine to want hot women, but like, it's like so much focus on Angela and none of that, like, very little on Maria, the actual like, the actual sexy character in the game, which is still sexy. Mind you, she looks very much like a MILF character, which makes sense. She's working at a strip mall and stuff, and she's also, of course, very seductive. So I can see people like sexing her up a bit more, right? Adding like bigger tits and shit. But like they're doing that with I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? Like like she doesn't even look good in the original game. She looks a little better, right? Like I'm not gonna pretend she doesn't look like uglier, but like it's not like it really that matters that much. Like she's probably the one character I never wanted to fuck in a video game ever in the history of time because one doesn't look that good, and two, like literally like she's a rape victim, and it's pretty obvious that she's like abused even in the early cutscenes, right? It's just the way she's very distant and shit with her actions, and very much like she's there, but like she's always like avoiding you, kind of thing, avoiding long conversations and shit. And that's like in the first conversation of the game, right? Like not even like when you meet her again later, and it's far more obvious. and she drops her little knife and stuff, right? Uh, no, 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 no. I'm talking about literally the first time you see her, right? And she's it's pretty obvious that she was abused. I'm just gonna say it right now that it's pretty obvious from the first cutscene what happened to her. Now, and that's really the thing. Like Angela Orozco is the only character that like I'm like yeah, dog like if people want to goon to someone else, but like this is Angela Orozco, you know what I mean? Like you can want to goon to Maria, you can you can want to goon to Laura if for all I fucking care, and that's probably should be see weird because she's a fucking kid. But like if you want to lolly her up, sure, what the fuck ever. It's a fictional character anyway, right? Um, but like Angela, it's just like dog. Like at that point, you're not a fan of the OG. Like there's no OG fan who's like, oh man, I'm just mad that they made her like less fuckable, considering she doesn't even look good in the original game. Like she looks slightly better, slightly. Like she goes from a 2 to a 3. It's just she's not a sex appeal character, and like it's not like Nicole to in the Dead Space remake where there kind of is an argument there. I don't agree with it, but at least there's like at least you can kind of like have an argument there where she's a little like Boobles McGee in the original, and then like she's basically Hillary Clinton in the remake. Like she's not good looking, um, really, and she was a lot better looking. I don't really see the like care about that, but hey, look, if I want to mod it in, I can mod Boobles McGee back in. But like for the story, that really has no impact, and it kind of feels better to me because hey, look, she's not even like slutty anyway. So for me, it doesn't really matter. Like for me, like a hot chick that's slutty in a horror game is like actually kind of effective at like telling a story bit, right? When she's just like a scientist, she just kind of like talks to you and that's it. Like what? Wait. Like it doesn't really matter if she's hot because like I'm not really like supposed to be attracted to her, you know? Um, but like with Maria, yeah, that makes sense. It's literally the whole point of Maria. So yeah, she's pretty hot in the game in the remake as well. She and honestly, I think she's even hotter in the remake. But like, it's just her. She's the only good looking character really. James is all right. Like he's supposed to be a plain looking dude, so he looks fine. Eddie is probably the one that actually changed the most, despite what people say. Eddie is by far the biggest fucking monstrosity looking guy in the new game. Kind of looks like a mix of a fat lesbian and like like just like a regular dude that's fat, right? It's like you can tell he's a man, but he kind of has like that butch lesbian vibe, and it's like fine. Like I don't really see the problem with it, but hey, he's definitely uglier. I mean, granted, I don't think anyone was wanting to fuck Eddie Eddie for his appearance, even in the original game. But he's definitely put on like a couple 100,000 pounds. Like I think he ate more than one dog, is what I'm saying. He's been eating a lot of them. So yeah, Eddie needs to put down the pizzas and the ice cream. But other than that, it's pretty all right. And then of course Laura is just girl. They really unchanged. She was always a snot nosed kid in the original. She doesn't even really look different. She just looks more realistic. But otherwise, it's 6 year old girl looks like 6 year old girl, right? Um, and that's kind of the thing. That's kind of like the end of it. So, for the character review, the environment review, obviously, probably like the most important part. Obviously, went very into detail on the abstract daddy one. And yeah, the other environments are pretty much the same. There's a few differences here where like the fog kind of guides you a bit more down your path to Silent Hill. And there's monster effects you can kind of just like hear while walking down it. And then of course, before you go, the lake is obscured in the remake at intro by the fog, whereas in the original it's pretty visible. That's basically it. And of course, like the you get your little map at the beginning, and of course, you can kind of see her dead body if you look at the right angle with like the '90s filter after beating the game with the chainsaw kind of thing, and see her dead body. Uh, and like that's kind of a thing. Oh no, actually you can't do it with yeah, you just use the '90s filter after beating the game. You see your dead body in the car, which of course is a reference to the fact that that's where her body is. Like he literally killed her the day before, saying she was dead for 3 years is like a big spoiler, and like that's a cool thing you can do. In the remake, I don't really think you can do it in the original, but you can do it in the remake after beating it. Just see her body in the car, right? Is looking at it. And then you know, all that. There's also, of course, like just like the original, although even more so to an extent, you see a ton of bodies that are literally just James scattered every fucking where. In the original, it had a couple that like here and there. Now it's like every fucking where. Like, you see any dead body that's not like a person you know or a monster. It's James's body basically, every single one. Uh, yeah, see, that's obviously pretty symbolic of the fact that James wants to kill himself. And there's obviously the few references to like the OG and eventually Silent Hill 4. Like there was a hole, it's gone now, right? And stuff like that. Well, just all the little fun little knickknack things here and there, right? And of course, the final bit, that I'm getting at is, the town is it's a town, right? Very empty, very cold feeling, right? But ultimately, you feel safer there than any other area. Like even when it's windy, it feels safer in outside with all the monsters attacking you than it does inside the buildings, which I think is very effective. And then of course the other world design is probably like my biggest criticism. See, in the original, it just kind of like got like very like drag and moody. Like it started changing, but not the way it does in the original and the third game. Because the third, like the other world for James looks more like how James feels, whereas the other world for Harry and Heather are actually like indicative of it's like hell, right? Because they're facing actual demons, whereas James is facing his personal demons, right? So it's a more personal hell, right? Is a good way to say it. In the remake, it's literally the same fucking place. It's just got all the wires and the shit everywhere and all that. It was fine in the first and third game because that's who you were facing. In the third game, just having it look that bad. And now, to be fair, in the remake, you also have, of course, the walls of like the hotel just kind of rot, right? In the Lake Hotel, and that actually is good, right? Before you get to the other world part of it, it looks kind of like the other world in the original game as you complete it. And I like that. It's just like kind of like worn down, not shit everywhere and wires all over the place, And it's not made of wire basically in grates. It I just didn't like that about the other world design. But it is like, when you get to the boss fights themselves, very good and effective. Just like I said, outside of that, it's just whatever, right? But the normal world designs are good, and the other world design is effective. It's just I wish it was more like the original game, where it was kind of like old and dusty, not this other world from the first and third games. As in, it was unique to James because it was basically James's personal hell rather than actual hell, which is where the other use had. Now, of course, you've got like the old like Jacob's Ladder and Dante's Inferno references. throughout the game. Obviously, jumping down 9 holes to represent the 9 circles of hell. And when you jump down the last, you just have like the final boss fights to face, which is obviously good. Um, and then, of course, you have all like basically the entire plot is just a rewrite of Jacob's Ladder. Just read Jacob's Ladder, you'll see what I mean. Now, obviously, it's not doesn't have much to do with the Lesser Kings of Solomon, but that's literally all Silent Hill 1 and 3. Like Lesser Kings of Solomon is more demons than like personal hell kind of thing. And then Dante's Divine Comedy, or the L'Inferno, right, is definitely much more valid for Silent Hill 2 anyway. So I like that. You got L'Inferno, or the Hells, which is the first half of Dante's Divine Comedy, which a lot of people call Dante's Inferno because the game did that. That's not what it's called. It's called L'Inferno, or the Hells. And it's literally just a description of like each circle of hell, and like as a man traverses through it, basically. So yeah, um, and yeah, the symbolism blatant and obvious in a lot of ways. Like you said, save for the Angela Orozco boss fight thing with her like father and brother Abstract Daddy, there's not anything really that is kind of hidden with like to look for. But it also makes sense because hey, look, you have to look for all the weird sex shit with him now. Now this is with a patch, but I do believe the patch is actually more effective now that I see like those pistons, because I'm thinking, yeah, you have to look for the abuse. You don't just find it, right? It's not just on the wall, on the surface. You got to look all over, and then you look all over, and you find so much more shit than you would have if you just like looked at the wall, right? Which is what you did in the original game. So I like that. It's a bit more modern, but with a much more flavor to it, right? Which is weird to like do like that kind of little motion to a rape victim, but yeah, um, like a rapist. I mean, but yeah, it's whatever. Um, so yeah, the game is fantastic. Obviously, it is a woke game, but it's one of those woke games where like the purpose is like the wokeness, right? This is the thing for me. Like wokeness with no purpose sucks. Like if it's a gay game made to be gay, like Cult of the Lamb, it's fine, right? Or Nimona is like a trans metaphor and it like through and through to its heart. That's fine. But then you get like shit like Endgame, where it's like we'll just add the scene and then we can cut it in the world release. That's fucking garbage. I hate that shit, right? But that's kind of a thing, right? Like it's like, hey, it's the fucking like you just want all like you just want the gay money and the not gay money at the same time, and that's what they did. It was pretty blatantly stupid in my opinion. But that's what they did. And I didn't like that with Disney and stuff. But when it comes to like wokeness, where like it's actually a core part of the product, yeah, I actually do enjoy that. I don't know if you know this, but when it comes to like it's actually the story and like it makes the story better, hell yeah. So yeah, the game is definitely woke. It's very much a feminism game. Like all the male characters are pieces of garbage, and all the female characters are sympathetic. Well, except Maria, but Maria is revealed later to just be like a manifestation of hell and not actually a person. So there's that. And then Angela, of course, unfortunately, sympathetic as she is, she kind of just kills herself in the fire, right? Not exactly a good ending for her. Laura is the only character that makes it out alive in any of the endings besides James, but also Laura's just a dumb kid. So like, hey, look, dumb kid, a little snot nose, but she only really is aggressive to you, of course, because well, hey, look, you're a piece of fucking garbage. Like you deserve that shit. And of course, that's the thing. James is a piece of shit. Like, there is no real way of getting around it. James is a fucking garbage human being. But that's kind of the point. Like, it's like, hey, look, he's a piece of dog shit. But, uncovering that is and all the many layers of his psyche is probably like such a phenomenal thing to do. Like the game is partially partially it's about the fact that you're trying to survive a town, and part of it is uncovering like the psyche of a abhorrent piece of shit. um and like that's cool, right? It's not like, oh, he's just a piece of shit and like that's the whole game. Like you got to uncover this, you got to look, you got to dig deep, you got to pound your hand in those fucking holes with goop all over them to grab a button from the wall or a key or like a fucking wristwatch. That one you don't have to really dig deep in, but like you get a little shit covered wristwatch in like a little a pond. So yeah, uh, lots of disgusting crap in the game, but in a good way, honestly. And that's kind of how it goes. It's a fun game and a good time. If you like it's whatever, and if you don't like it, hey, whatever. But I find it a very good game. Definitely, probably my favorite horror remake. Of like that for like keeping the story pretty one to one. Like obviously the gameplay nowhere near as good as Resident Evil 4 or Dead Space remake. Of course, Resident Evil 4 remake is so fucking god tier. Like they had to do something to make the remake live up to the original, and that's what they did. They couldn't really do it with story and jokes for some reason. I don't know why. Like people are like, you can't do those jokes. You can. None of those jokes seem that offensive. Like, what? You're gonna offend 5 people on Twitter with 7 followers and 3 likes? Who the fuck gives a shit, right? Like that's my thing. Like, oh, the 7 follower accounts are gonna with 3 likes. They're gonna ruin us. No, what it really comes down to is just people who make the games actually thought they were a little distasteful and changed them. No one was really offended, but besides maybe some Karens and some SJWs, right? Other than like those, like both, they're two different crowds, but both crowds, I'm a parent and I get to say what I want, but I don't want to raise my kid, but I don't want you to raise them either. Kind of piece of shit. Like I fucking hate Karens. It's like, oh yes, let's govern the internet instead of just raising your fucking kids, instead of having the iPad raise them. Like let's like when the fuck did we have like, hey, we gotta put like massive authority blocks on the internet instead of just like, hey, like put down the tablet, give your kid like an apple and teach him how to do shit. Like it's fucking disgusting that like we have all this like talk about like how things are just too bad for kids, and never like once like, hey, why are the kids like left to like be online all fucking day? That's my thing. um and the Karens are always going to be upset. Same with like the far left woke scolds. They get the far right and the far left basically at each other's throats, because they're lazy and don't want to actually accomplish anything. So I'm like, fuck them, fuck the Karens, fuck the far right Karens, fuck the far left soy boy SJW commie piece of shit. They're both disgusting to me. I don't like either of them. And that's kind of the thing, like but like the game, it's like I said, when I talk about wokeness, like a game being woke or whatever, as a positive thing, it's because, hey, look, it's actually like shows progressive ideas in a good and meaningful way. Whereas when it comes down to a thing I don't like, it's either it does them in a very preachy way, which is once again, it's not really the values, it's the way they describe them, or it does it in a way where like it doesn't affect the plot and doesn't really help it or move it forward at all. Both the ways I do not like. I don't know if you know this, but bad writing is my problem with wokeness a lot of times, which is why I really, when I actually criticize a thing, I tend to just say bad writing or like horrendous acting or whatever, rather than, oh, it's woke, or oh, it's Nazi bullshit. Like, no, I actually say why it is bad, um, because I think that's more important. Yeah, Nazi films tend to suck too, just like woke films tend to suck. And like conservative films tend to be decent, and so do like more left wing films that are just not full on woke. But it's not really like that they can't be good. It's that they just are usually lazy and bad at their job. But this game is definitely not that. It's definitely very well written. I'm surprised because Bloober Team definitely did not seem capable of even hitting the mark. It's definitely nowhere near like as good as the original. Like we'll just keep it that way, right? Like the things like with the boss fight with Angela Roscoe, way better. But other than that, nothing really is improved enough outside like the combat itself to actually be better, right? It's literally just one boss fight and that's it. But it's definitely a like a fun time, and that's all that matters. Say, look, play it, don't play it, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, have fun, and that's how we'll do it. Now, I have no footage because, as I said, I can't really record it. I could use someone else's video, but I think that's a little retarded. Unfortunately, OBS doesn't want to record with the game capture. It'll capture with the window capture, but like unless you want to see like me like record the review again with a 3 frames per second video because I'm using window capture instead of a game capture, be my guest. But until then, yeah, the video is blank because it's blank, unfortunately. Sorry, but it is what it is. Anyway, see ya.